What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another one. If you're new to this channel, I am Gold Pony. I do new car, truck, SUV reviews on YouTube, and today we are in the brand new 2026 Toyota BZ, courtesy of Younger Toyota in Hagerstown, Maryland. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. And so today we're in this one because there has been a name change for the 2026 model year, previously known as the BZ4X, now known as the BZ. Thank you, Toyota. It was kind of difficult for a lot of people to remember the BZ4X, but this one is now substantially quicker, nicer on the inside, better range, and there's one major change for this thing as well. And also it is still twinning with the Subaru Solterra, of course, as well. So ultimately in this video we will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, all that fun stuff. So having said all of that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. And so there are actually just two different trim levels for the 2026 Toyota BZ. You got the XLE, being the one we are in today, starting at $34,900. Then you have the Limited starting at $43,300. That was both pricing for the front wheel drive. However, of course, you can add all-wheel drive. We have it. If you wanted to do that, simply add $2,000 then to either of those prices. But to go along with that, there are also two different power plans. There's the front wheel drive version and the all-wheel drive. Front wheel drive is going to give you a single electric motor that puts out 221 horsepower, which by the way is a 20 horsepower bump from last year, 198 pound-feet of torque then. Power sent to the front wheel, 0 to 60 time, approximately 7.8 seconds. That's respectable there. With the range for the Plus coming in at 314 miles. And so there's a Plus configuration, and then there's just the standard front wheel drive. So the standard front wheel drive gives you 299 miles. Either way, substantially better than last year. So well done, Toyota, there. You can do a 10 to 80% charge in approximately 30 minutes then. But then there's the all-wheel drive setup, and of course that's going to be the dual electric motors powering the front wheels and the rear wheels. This one puts out 338 horsepower, which is 123 horsepower bump from last year. That's substantial. So I'm excited to do this acceleration test here in a second. The power sent to all four wheels, 0 to 60 time is said to come in at approximately 4.8 seconds, with the range coming in at 278 miles. And here's the big change for this year. This thing is now Tesla supercharger capable. So I can go to a Tesla supercharger charging station, and that's the way it is set up now. Last year was not set up that way, and you can still charge it into a normal charger. They have an adapter. It's in the trunk. It's in the cargo area right now, but it is set up for a Tesla supercharger station now, which is super cool because they're everywhere. But anyways, before we do any kind of fun acceleration test here in the BZ, I did want to mention to you guys the drive modes. And so there's an eco driving mode, and that's your on-road driving mode. And of course, since this thing is twinning with the Subaru Solterra, Subaru is known for their X mode, and the X mode button is located just behind that, and that gives you drive modes like snow and dirt, deep snow and mud, and grip control modes actually as well, at least for the all-wheel drive version. But ultimately adjusting the throttle response, the power delivery, and the brake modulation then as well. So now having got all of that out of the way, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and find a straightaway. Let's put the acceleration here to the test, and let's see how quickly we can get our new 2026 Toyota BZ here up to speed. All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1, go! Nice. The heck? Do I have the front wheel drive? This thing is slow. What's going on here? I gotta check this. This is not right. Output power reduced. All right, so a quick answer on that output power reduced notification that I was getting during that acceleration test there. That was because the battery was getting a little too low in charge. It was at like 30 miles left until it ran out of charge or whatever. It's at 19 now, but just keep that in mind if you end up getting an electric vehicle. Don't let it get that low, or it will reduce the power and put it into kind of almost a limp mode, which of course is going to affect the acceleration, the merging onto the highway, things like that. So just don't let it get that low in charge. That's all I'm saying. I gave it a shot for you guys nonetheless. But anyways, to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. So up front, you will find 12.9-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 12.5-inch ventilated rear discs. As far as that 6D0 stopping distance goes, it comes in at 122 feet. As far as braking feel goes, since there's no one behind us, it's a little bit on the firmer side. I don't mind that. The cool thing about with the brake regeneration is you can use the paddle shifters to adjust it. So I just tap the paddle shifters like 5 times. So when I let off the gas, it does do a really decent job at bringing this thing to a pretty substantial stop. Now, it's not a full stop like a lot of the competition, but it does a pretty darn good job. Like, I wouldn't have any issues with that. And that's actually going to save you a good bit on your brake pads and resurfacing rotors and things like that. So for that reason, I'm a big fan. I would say 100% hit the left paddle shifter like what, 4 or 5 times and use that brake regeneration, because it's going to save you a lot of money. But then touching on suspension and handling, up front you're going to get an independent McPherson strut front suspension. In the back, independent multi-link rear suspension, front and rear stabilizer bars. Overall, as far as ride quality goes, it's been perfectly fine in my short little test drive here today. Ride quality's been certainly on point. I like how it's absorbing the road imperfections, although there really aren't many here because Hagerstown does a pretty good job with the roads. But nonetheless, as far as steering feel goes, I do love the steering feel. I feel like it's definitely weighted on the heavier side of things. It instantly points you in the direction that you want to go. So huge fan of the steering wheel in this thing. As far as cabin noise goes, we're going 30 miles per hour right now. I'll be quiet here for a sec. I think it's pretty fine. Like, I certainly wouldn't have any issues with that, at least. And then touching on rear visibility, looking out my rear view mirror there, I can see perfectly fine out the back. Definitely should not have any issues there. And then touching on forward visibility, rain sensing windshield wipers actually do come standard for all trim levels across the board, so you got to appreciate that. So whenever this thing detects any kind of mist or rainfall, it's going to automatically turn on those windshield wipers, kind of like automatic headlights. So just one less thing you got to worry about there. But that pretty much rounds out the performance segment of this review, guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior now of our brand new 2026 Toyota BZ. All right, so here she is, you guys, the new 2026 Toyota BZ, finished in midnight black metallic. In case you were curious of the exact exterior color name, but it looks pretty darn good, completely blacked out in my opinion. But as always, let's go ahead and start with where the BZ is made. Taking a look at the VIN, first character is the letter J, indicating that the BZ is built and assembled in Japan, as it should be. But refreshed look a little bit for 2026 there. Got full LED headlights to the sides, meaning both low beam and high beam with LED daytime running lights. Get the automatic feature with those. You also get automatic high beams as well. So if you have your high beams on at night and it senses a vehicle coming in the opposite direction, it's going to automatically dim them back to low beams. And when that vehicle is gone, it's going to automatically bounce it back up to high beams for you there. So that is pretty convenient. You also have a hammerhead hood, Toyota calls it, with the black accent. Let me get up a little bit closer to show you guys. Because we have the all black exterior with this here today, you might not be able to tell, but this top portion here, that is the hammerhead hood that they're referring to. That's going to be black no matter what exterior color that you go with. And then the rest of the hood is going to be the exterior color, which in our case is also black. So honestly, I think it looks good all blacked out, but maybe that's just me. But that pretty much rounds out the front end of this one. Let's now go ahead and swing around to the side. And so now since we are around to the side of the BZ, rear privacy glass does come standard for all trims. Power adjustable heated side mirrors also coming standard. They're going to come with turn signal indicators, and they're going to be power folding actually as well. Puddle lights are going to come with the limited, and you get the reverse gear tilt down feature with that limited trim level as well then. And then taking a look down at the wheel setup, again, the wheels are going to differ dependent upon that trim level. The XLE is going to give you 18-inch alloys with covers, which is what you guys are looking at, of course. And then the Limited is going to give you 20-inch black multi-spoke alloys. So that is how that is set up, but that pretty much rounds out the side profile. Let's now go ahead and swing around to the back. All right, so now since we are around to the back of the BZ, all the way to the top, you got that body-colored shark fin antenna, kind of a lip spoiler found just below that. You have LED taillights coming standard across the board. You have another kind of lip spoiler just above those LED taillights. Let me get up a little bit closer. I can show that to you guys real quick. So that is kind of cool. Didn't expect to see that there. That pretty much rounds out the back end. Traditionally here, I'll do an exhaust clip, but with this being an electric vehicle, I'm not going to be doing that, obviously. So let's go ahead and make our way to the interior. All right, so now since we are around to the back of the BZ, when it comes to opening that rear lift gate, it is a foot-activated power lift gate for all trim levels across the board. So you definitely got to appreciate that. And of course, on the key fob, there is a button to unlock it that way or open it up that way as well, and a rubberized button on the lift gate itself. But once opened up, cargo capacity capacity comes in at 27.7 cubic feet. If that was not enough space, of course, the rear seats do fold down. It's going to bump that up to 56.9 cubic feet then. It's actually grocery bag hooks on both sides in the cargo area, so I did like seeing that. Got a cargo cover back there. Of course, there's some cargo lighting. There's a 120 volt power outlet I found back there as well, which was nice to see. Then if you were to lift up underneath of that cargo floor, you will find in-floor storage, which is always nice as well. But then making our way up to the rear legroom, that comes in at 35.3 inches. For reference, I'm an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in the back there. Rear center armrest with cup holders coming standard. Rear ventilation coming standard back there. There's dual rear USB charging ports also coming standard. And then heated rear seats are going to come on the limited trim level only if you wanted those. But then making our way up to the front seats, you're going to find a fabric Softex combination for the XLE trim level. That's what you guys are looking at. There's Softex seating for the limited trim then. 8-way power driver seat coming standard. 8-way power adjustable passenger seat for the limited. Heated front seats do come standard, and then ventilated front seats are going to come with that limited trim level. Overall, as far as seat comfort goes, it was plenty fine for me, honestly. Toyota always crushes it with their seat comfort, so I definitely did not have any issues with this one. Then taking a look at the steering wheel, it is tilt and telescoping. It is going to be leather wrapped. It is heated actually as well. That comes standard. By the way, you could turn that on within the infotainment screen, but that's super nice. I love a heated steering wheel. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the startup. Let me start by showing you guys the key here. You got your Toyota logo at the bottom there, lock, unlock, and the button to pop the rear liftgate there. But it is all keyless entry with a push button start. So all I'm going to do here is simply put my foot on the brake and press that engine start button located just to the left of the infotainment screen. And so when it comes to the gauges, what you guys are looking at is a 7-inch LCD display. It looks a little bit different in design than last year's model, but it still looks pretty close to the same. And there's a couple different looks you can display up there. There's just a basic speedometer front and center. You could choose to display that. That's what I would leave it on. And then there's also a smaller speedometer to the right, and you can display like information on the left-hand side if you wanted to, but gives you your outside temperature, time of the day, how many miles you have left until you completely run out of charge, and so on. So pretty much everything you could possibly want on the digital gauge cluster. The only thing is still, just like last year, the steering wheel position kind of blocks part of the gauges. So there is still that going on. Just know that you're not always going to be able to see all of the screen because of that steering wheel placement and how everything is set up there. So that's kind of interesting. But anyways, let's now go ahead and make our way to overall interior quality. Panoramic moonroof coming standard on the limited. It's an option for the XLE, an option that we have with us here today. I think it goes for $1,000, but that's pretty nice. It goes all the way into the rear seats there. Dual wireless phone charger. That's something you don't usually see for both of them, at least. So that's pretty cool. So driver and passenger can have their wireless phone charger. 64 colors of ambient lighting coming standard. Auto dimming rear view mirror also coming standard. And you got home link controls just underneath of that for up to 3 different garage doors. I like that. A little bit of storage found underneath of those wireless phone chargers. I like that as well. It's kind of hidden storage. It's actually a USB charging port and a 12-volt power outlet in there, I see. So that's pretty cool. Just behind the shifter here, you got a couple cup holders, and then within the center armrest, okay amount of storage in there. There's actually a little LED light in there as well, which is kind of cool. But overall, interior quality is maybe a little bit on the basic side of things. A lot of hard touch plastic surrounding the shifter and found on the doors as well. So it's okay. I do like the LED interior lighting though. I think that looks pretty darn good, but just maybe a little bit on the basic side of things. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the infotainment screen. What you guys are looking at is a 14-inch infotainment screen. Get Bluetooth and audio streaming, wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You can check out your driving statistics up there as well, along with your radio information. So when it comes to the sound systems, you get 6 speakers. That does come standard for all trim levels across the board technically, but there is an optional 9-speaker JBL sound system. It's only optional for the limited though, so obviously we don't have it with us here today. So having said that, let's go ahead and turn on the radio. Let's see what we got playing today, and let's test out our 6-speaker sound system that we have with us here today. It didn't feel like a 6-speaker sound system. That was really, really good. Like, and Toyota always does this. I feel like I've said this before. Toyota sound systems, like, they'll throw you off because it'll say it's a 6-speaker sound system, which is basic. It's a basic number right there. 6 speakers is not a lot. But then you hear it and you're like, that's not 10? Like, it's not 8? that's really good. Like, it's the best, if not one of the best, 6-speaker sound systems in existence. So they did a wonderful job with that. I'll give them that for sure. But last thing I wanted to mention to you guys on that infotainment screen is when you do put the BZ in reverse, you'll have that really loud chime, of course, letting everybody know that you're in reverse, but it will give you a very high definition rear view camera, letting you know who or what is behind you, which is always going to lead us into safety. And so let me start with the best part. The BZ4X last year was an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus. Hasn't yet been rated for the BZ, but I would imagine it's a pretty similar car. It's basically the same thing, so it's probably going to be the same thing. I'm just saying. But front side curtain airbags do come standard. Driver and passenger knee airbags up front as well. In the back, you got latch, aka lower anchors that tethers for children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system, but also coming standard. Toyota Safety Sense 3.0. That gives you all the fun advanced safety, including a pre-collision system with pedestrian detection, lane departure alert, steering assist, lane tracing assist, dynamic radar cruise control, road sign assist, proactive driving assist, a blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert, and front and rear parking sensors. They usually doesn't come standard, by the way, so that's pretty cool. But overall, when it comes to my final thoughts, overall the numbers are definitely better than last year. There's no denying that. When it comes to the charging, the range, the speed, although I couldn't really test it, everything is substantially better than before. Also, excellent safety. You can't beat an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus, which is probably what this thing's going to rate at since it did last year. So I'm just saying, as far as room for improvement goes, I think some new and fun interior options would be kind of cool, like color options. I'm saying, like maybe a red, a blue, or a green instead of just this black and gray look. It's kind of boring for me, but I don't know, I like color, so I think that would be kind of cool. And the other thing about EVs in general, and it's not just specific to the BZ, it could have been any EV that I was driving, is when you do get lower in the charge, in order to conserve battery so you don't end up on the side of the road, they reduce the power output like you guys saw in the video, which means that your acceleration is definitely held back. So just keep that in mind when you're merging onto the highway. It's almost a safety thing. It felt substantially slow, and I didn't like that, and that's why I still ultimately prefer gasoline powered cars or hybrids. Hybrids are my favorite. I guess the moral of the story is just keep your EVs charged up. But that's about it for this one, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of the BZ in the comments section below. Be sure to follow me on social media stuff if you want to see what's coming next on the channel before it gets to YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe and the bell notification button if you're into new car reviews. That is what I've been doing here for 11 years now. I do appreciate you guys watching more than you know, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Stay gold.